right. Today we're going to talk about using a graph to solve a ratio problem. So before we were using a ratio table to create a graph. Now we're going to use a graph to help us solve a ratio problem. Okay, so let's take a look at the problem that we are going to be working on today. All right. It says your school organizes a clothing drive as a fundraiser for a class trip. The school earns $100 for every 400 pounds of donated clothing. So part A says represent the ratio relationship using a graph, and B, how much money does your school earn for donating 2,200 pounds of clothing? All right, so let's focus on part A first. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a ratio table to go along with our problem here. Okay, so I have two things that I'm talking about. I'm talking about dollars and pounds. Okay, so I have dollars and I have pounds. All right, and it says for every $100, or the school's going to earn $100 for every 400 pounds of clothing. So I'm going to have 100 for every 400 pounds. Okay, $100 for every 400 pounds. And what I want to find out is what will that be for 2,200 pounds? If I have 2,200 pounds of clothing, how many dollars will the school make? So that's the problem here. So that's my little ratio table that's going to go along with the graph that we're going to create. Okay. All right. So let's take a look at our graph paper. I'm going to have to make my scales here. Okay. So I know I have dollars and pounds, and we already said whenever that we have, when we're dealing with our axes, when we're talking about dollars, we usually put the dollars on our y-axis. We usually put dollars on our y-axis, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put my dollars over here, and I want to label it dollars. Okay, and that means down here I'm going to have my pounds. Okay, so here I might have all right, so here I think I'm going to go by every other. I'm going to have my 400. I'm going to go by 400s. 800, 1200, 1600, 2,000, 2,400. All right, so there's my scale. Whoops, there's my scale there. Those are my pounds, and I just went in equal increments, and I counted up by 400s. Now my dollars, okay, so I have $100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800. All right, so there's my dollars going up. All right, so for every $100, 400 pounds gets me $100. So I'm going to graph that point first. Okay, which means then for 200, I'm going to double with 800 pounds. I'm going to have $200. 1,200 would be $300. 1,600 would be $400. 2,000 $500, and 2,400 would be $600. So here is my line. So I'm going to take a straight edge. I can use a ruler, or I can use the edge of a card to go ahead and draw a straight line connecting all my dots starting from 0. I don't just start wherever the line starts. I always start from 0. I'm going to make my straight line. All right, so that is our relationship from our ratio table. Now the question is, so that's the first thing I did. It said represent the ratio using a graph. Okay, so you can see for every 400 pounds, we have another $100. Now the question is, how much money does your school earn for donating 2,200 pounds of clothing? 2,200 pounds of clothing. Well, you know what? That is not in my scale here, but it is on my number line, all right, because 2,200 is right between 2,000 and 2,400, right? 200 is half of 400, so that would be right here. So how I would see how much that would be is I'm going to draw a line straight up from where 2,200 would be to where it intersects or where it crosses my line. Okay, so I'm going to take my straight edge, I'm going to draw a straight line, and look, it crosses right here. So if I took that line over, I see it's right between 500 and 600. Well, the number right between 500 and 600 is 550. So how much money does your school earn for donating 2,200 pounds of clothing? They would earn $550 because that is where 2,200 crosses my line here. So if I took it over, I would have 550 over here. So that is how we can solve a problem using our coordinate grid.